Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa, our daily news roundup from across the continent here on France 24. Coming up on tonight's show, Kenyan and Rwandan leaders joined together calling for a ceasefire from the M23 rebel group in the eastern DRC. It comes despite heightened tensions diplomatically, with the DR Congo accusing Kigali of backing the rebels in clashes against government forces, which have displaced thousands. Then, as the COP27 conference draws to a close in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, many goals of the summit are yet to be realized. Fueling frustration is a pushback against financing loss and damage caused by climate change on developing nations, many of those African. And we preview the continent's chances of lifting a first World Cup in Qatar. With so many false dawns in tournaments gone past, could this finally be the year where Africa prevails, or should we expect an uphill battle? Thanks again for joining us. In a major development of its kind, Kenya's former President Uhuru Kenyatta and Rwanda's President Paul Kagame agreed on Friday on the need for M23 rebels to cease fire and withdraw from East Congo. M23 rebels have waged several offensives in the region this year, prompting army responses that have displaced thousands of civilians. The unrest has ignited diplomatic tensions between Congo and neighboring Rwanda, with the Congo accusing Rwanda of backing the group, something Kigali denies. For more on today's discussions, though, here's France 24 correspondent Bastien Renouy from Nairobi.
Former Kenyan President and East African Community Peace Envoy Uhuru Kenyatta said in a communique that he talked to Rwandan President Paul Kagame and that the two men agreed that it's very important for the East African force deployed in eastern DRC to immediately take over territories that have recently been captured by M23. They also say that it's very important for this force to ensure peace, stability and security for civilians. And according to the communique, Rwandan President Paul Kagame agreed to urge the M23 to cease fire and withdraw from these areas. But it's unclear what's going to happen now. I was with the Kenyan troops deployed in eastern DRC 2 days ago, and their orders are clear. Their main goal is not to fight. It's more to help the Congolese army to demobilize M23 fighters. But it's unclear if they're going to fight to capture the towns or if they will wait for a ceasefire. But this communique is very important ahead of the Rwanda 2 summit, which will happen next week. You know that the tensions are high between Rwanda and the DRC. Felix Tshisekedi accuses his Rwandan counterpart to support the M23. And this summit will bring together both Congolese and Rwandan leaders. And their goal is clear: to create a path to stability through a ceasefire in eastern DRC.
In Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, UN climate talks were extended by a day on Friday in an effort to break a deadlock over funding for developing nations battered by climate change. The global north and south have struggled to find common ground on creating a loss and damage fund, as well as a whole host of other crucial issues, just hours before the summit was originally scheduled to end. Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, who is chairing the COP talks, told delegates the negotiations would spill into Saturday, a delay not unusual in such sprawling talks.
Today we need to shift gears again. Time is not on our side. Dear friends, I remain committed to bringing this conference to a close tomorrow in an orderly manner, with the adoption of a series of consensus decisions that will be comprehensive, ambitious, and balanced.
Well, that frustration at failing to secure financing from the wealthy nations spilled onto the streets outside the COP27 venue on Friday, with many calling for a concrete outcome for the meetings. Environmental activists say they have been left disappointed from empty and hollow statements, and that pessimism for the future of developing countries is growing, many of those African. Tunisian police fired tear gas on Friday to disperse protesters in the town of Zarzis as anger mounts over the state's response to recent shipwrecks where many local migrants have been killed. Demonstrators tried to reach the nearby island of Djerba, where French-speaking countries are holding a summit this weekend. Tunisian President Kais Saied will welcome French President Emmanuel Macron and other leaders in Saturday's showpiece event of the Francophonie Group. The institution is dedicated to promoting the French language and strengthening ties among the organization's 88 members. France 24 reporter Mark Perlman is in Jeddah to tell us more.
The 18th summit of the Organization of French-speaking countries is opening here in Djerba in Tunisia. Its Secretary General Louise Mushikiwabo told France 24 and RFI that she is worried about the proliferation of coups in many French-speaking African countries. Let's take a listen.
As the Secretary General of the Francophonie, I must say that this situation makes me unhappy. These are our member states. Coup d'etat create instability, and without political stability, we cannot move forward in other fields, including economically. In such a complicated period, after a pandemic, we must do everything to come back to normal life. This is also Francophonie's role.
This issue will be discussed by the heads of state and government here in Djerba in a closed session. The Secretary General, Louise Mushikiwabo, will be re-elected for a second mandate. She is the only one running, so there's no suspense about her fate.
And finally, the World Cup in Qatar kicks off this Sunday with 5 African nations in the mix for the top prize. Senegal, Morocco, Tunisia, Cameroon and Ghana have all touched down in Doha, hoping to go all the way to become the first African team to lift a World Cup trophy. But many obstacles lie in wait. Well, joining me in the studio to discuss Africa's chances, I'm joined by France 24 journalist Ilham Toble. Magnificent jacket first, I just have to add.
Thank you, Jamie.
Ilham, we have these 5 African teams. One of the most recognized is Senegal, the Lions of Teranga. They won the African Cup of Nations this year, but now they are heading into the World Cup without their star man, Sadio Mane. Just how big a blow is that?
It's a major blow. Imagine like Brazil playing without Neymar or France without Mbappe. It's the same for Senegal. Actually, Aliou Cissé built his team around Sadio Mane because Sadio Mane just came second in the rank of the Ballon d'Or. It means everything. Those kind of players, you cannot go in a tournament like World Cup without Sadio Mane. It's a big blow. And as a Liverpool fan, you know how much Sadio Mane could be important for a team. So it's a major blow for Senegal and for the whole continent.
And as you say, he is that leading line. Can Senegal still do something, though? We feel that there is still more to this team.
Yes, there is other players. We can think about Edouard Mendy, the goalkeeper. We can also think about Khalid Koulibaly, also Ismaïla Sarr, because Sarr is someone. He's a great player, but he didn't level up the expectation until now. But so we hope that he can do it. But also in another way, those players didn't have a quite good start of championship. So it's quite difficult for Senegal. But we hope that they can make something during this World Cup.
Absolutely. Sam Bradpeace, reporter for France 24, he was in Dakar to get the thoughts of people on the ground about the injury to Sadio Mane. Let's just take a listen. Let's see how they feel.
After winning the African Cup of Nations earlier this year, the Senegalese national football team was riding a wave of momentum going into this World Cup. Then came the bump in the road. It has now been confirmed that their star player, the attacker Sadio Mane, has been ruled out of the tournament due to injury. On the streets of the capital, Dakar, people are still processing this loss.
Yesterday, I was talking with my friends. Some of them had bought a TV to watch the football, but they have now sold it because Sadio Mane won't be on the pitch.
A team without Sadio Mane is like a meal without salt.
The team still has good players, even without Sadio Mane. I hope it'll do better than in 2002, when they had a good run. I think the Lions will make it to the final if God wills.
Sadio Mane is one of the best football players on the planet, and so of course the team has been dealt a heavy blow. Having said that, Senegal remains the strongest African team going into this World Cup and is expected to breeze through the group stages quite easily, I think. However, in the opening game against the Netherlands on Monday, players like Ismaïla Sarr, Kalidou Koulibaly and Edouard Mendy are going to have to pull their socks up and pick up the slack against what promises to be a fairly strong opposition.
Well, Ilom, Sam, he says that they are still the best placed African team. We look at the groups that the others are in. I want us to start with Ghana because that is a tough one. You've got Portugal, you've got Uruguay, South Korea. How do you see the other teams basically progressing?
I think for me, it's like maybe the worst group stage for African teams since I'm watching the World Cup. I'm not that old, but like you say with the Group H, with Ghana, it's really tough. Cameroon got Brazil, Serbia and Switzerland. Morocco got Belgium, Canada and Croatia. Maybe Morocco because they have so many offensive players, but we never know how they can react during that tournament. Also, all those teams have really young coach because Regragui just take the team during the summer for Morocco, for example. Cameroon, Rigobert Song just take the team just after the AFCON, just 2 games before, two official games before going to this World Cup. Ghana also with Otto Addo. So we don't know what is the real level of those teams for this moment. And during this tournament, they have to show us that the real level. So it's quite difficult to see what will happen.
Of course, it is the first time, quite nicely, that the African nations have homegrown coaches, all 5 of them. Do you think this can be a benefit for them, or do you think it's just in terms of the quality that they're up against, it won't actually make a difference?
It could be a Russian roulette because in sometimes it could be they can maybe keep the players together to find something else, some fighting spirit to level up during this tournament. But also sometimes what happened in Africa, unfortunately, is like there is some group within the group and people saying that, oh, the coach is more closer to this player than this player. He's making the team for this player and not for all the whole team. And that could be really difficult. That happened before with Cameroon or other teams. But we hope that wouldn't happen during this World Cup. And also that, yes, maybe Ghana, Cameroon, Morocco, that's football finally, because there is what is on the paper and what the teams can do during a game. That's why football is so beautiful.
And a quick surprise prediction?
It's a tough one. I would say maybe Morocco. Morocco.
Well, we'll leave it at that. That's all the news we have here on Eye on Africa for this evening. But there is plenty coming up on France 24, so don't go anywhere. It's bye from me for now.